We are live, buddy. Goats, 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 and more goats. What does it take to make a successful NFT project?
Today, we are going to go deep with one of the OGs in this space, Dez from MaisonDeGOAT, and also one of the hosts of another one of our lovely content producers, The Mint Condition. We're very excited about today's show. I, for one, am a big goat holder and can't wait to go deep into the world of goats, on goats and the Metaverse. And Stanley, it's been quite a while since we've had a live show.
Yes.
It feels pretty good to have a guest and be live. How are you?
I am doing great. We are live. We are back. And let's get right into it. Let's bring Dez on and chop it up. Dez, welcome to Goats in the Metaverse.
GM. Absolutely. Goats on goats. I love it. You got to have it.
You got to have it. Welcome to the show. We're excited to have you on. For those of our viewers that don't know who you are, give us a little background. Who is that?
Yeah. It's funny being introduced as an OG in the space, but I guess, considering when we all came into it and how we're still coming into it, I guess so. But yeah, no, my name's Dez. Been in space, I'd say a good minute. Got in through, as most of us these days, got in through Top Shot, quickly transitioned into other NFTs and different projects. And I'm excited to be here. I started a project back in July, or we launched in July, called GOATz with a Z. It's been an amazing adventure so far. And we've built such a quality community. And we have a lot of things planned, and hopefully we get to talk about some of those today. But just super excited to be here. I think content creators are kind of undervalued in this space right now. I know when we were first starting out, it was impossible. It was like so hard to just find someone talking about NFTs like 24/7. You had to really re-listen to podcasts. And so it's now amazing that we got live shows like yours and stuff to tune into. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, you've been around since July, right? Which is early. You're talking about I don't want to use the phrase OG, but people say now that if they got into this during the summer, they're almost considered themselves an OG. But you actually launched a project during the summer, which is a lot. Tell us. What does it take to launch a successful project?
Sure, absolutely. I always gauge how early you are by how many projects we're launching that day, and we launched with one other project that day. So that's a pretty big sign and indicator of how early it was. Now it's just crazy, but what it takes to run a successful successful NFT project, you first have to define your idea of success. I think that's truly where you start is, right? Do you want, and it's okay as long as you're transparent, but do you want something that booms really quickly? Moons is a 2-week to a month game that people, a social experiment game where people jump in and then kind of fade out? Or do you want to build something long-standing, a bigger community, something as a brand? That's what you really have to kind of ask yourself, because I'd say those two things are very different. Both are great. I've participated in both, but to me, what really, I guess, drew my attention to this was about creating a community and a brand and a true kind of long-term project. So what it took from there is it takes a vision. You have to have a vision and kind of a reason why you're doing it. For some people, it's financial. Some people it's they don't have much going else on and they want something to build. For me, it was a need in the market. I loved Bored Apes. I was a fan of Gutter Cats. I had all these projects and was a big fan of them. And the one thing I felt was missing was personalization and connection to that PFP. I love Bored Apes, but I couldn't find that exact PFP that really struck a chord with me and oh, that's me in the metaverse. Now, maybe I could, but I'd have to spend a fortune to do it. So ultimately, what I love is personalization and a story behind it. And so that's the start of GOATz. That was the vision of GOATz, is let's create a project, a PFP project that allows the user to customize, create their own vision, their own personas, their characters, create their own IP, and let them have it. So that's where the Forge came in, which is our kind of, at the time it was, I think we were like one of the first to ever release it. Yeah. But this idea of being able to take two NFTs, take traits from either, and combine them into something new. So yeah, that was the vision. What it took from there to execute on that vision is a lot of help from a lot of places. As any project does, it takes a little bit of funding. But for this space, it's not crazy. It's not like starting a med device company, from scratch. Like it's doable. So you need a little bit of funding. You need the right. I think we got so lucky, and this was at a time where Solidity devs, people that code NFTs and the contracts, were very scarce, and it was hard to find a reliable source. And we just got so lucky with finding a great dev team that was willing to take on a challenge like the Forge and some of the things that we were doing. So you really, truly need a strong dev team. And even some of the biggest project releases have had hiccups. In this space, I do say it is still the wild, wild west. So anything really can go wrong at any time. But having a good dev team to back you up in those situations is really helpful. So, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, you spoke about a couple of components, and let's just go back in time, because this was July last year when GOATz came out. The forging mechanism that gives that kind of composability and customization of your PFPs. It also makes it deflationary, so you start with a big supply, and if you're now customizing two NFTs and you're forging them together, you're not creating a new one, but you're reducing the supply. That mechanic is pretty interesting. And you chose a dev team that was able to build that kind of technical innovation. For people and our listeners who are like thinking, okay, I want to launch a PFP, or I want to be able to go into this community, how do you know that was the right dev team? How do you figure out that these are the people that will actually be able to produce?
That's a great question. We interviewed quite a few teams, and everyone's going to say they can do it. That's like one of the things is like, you propose anything. Oh yeah, we can do it. Absolutely. But what we decided to go with ultimately is pick a team that was asking us questions back. And they were like, well, have you thought of this? What is this? And so you could tell that they were into it more than the level of just like, yeah, we want to do this project. Let's do it. We can do it. They were really trying to process with us. And that's what helped, really kind of narrow our decision into who we selected. We could just tell that they were on a different level. Now, I do think it is easier now to find a quality dev team, and especially with references, if they've done certain projects before and you can check them out. So you just got to do your due diligence and don't just instantly believe, oh yeah, we can do this because, we've done it here or whatever. So yeah, put a good bit of effort into your due diligence there.
And then I remember when you guys launched and was that kind of first forging mechanism, you got a little bit of Twitter hate. I think it was from Beanie, talking about the forge not being on chain, and that this is how forges need to be done, and then came up with his own project, and at the time kind of attacking a new community that was very young. If you can go back to that time, like how you navigated around that, what did that do for the community? And once it's out in the open and things have been done, how this kind of Twitter community game plays out in building your community.
Sure. Yeah, you need the support of Twitter, right? You need the hype around a product launch, and it's kind of like a necessary evil at this point, just because you can build something great and it can take a while, but the community as a large will not look at you the same way if you don't, for instance, sell out, pretty quickly. So it is a hard thing to balance. But yeah, that was a crazy time. I had followed Beanie for a little while, and obviously he's looked at as one of like the supreme OGs of this space. It is funny how things play out, and it maybe is a little bit fall from grace, and where he's kind of ended things. But yeah, I mean, at the time, He's incredibly intelligent, and so he's crafty, and he's got a good team with him, so he'll be back. But no, it was one of those things where it was, and just to back up, he didn't create a project because he saw a need for being on chain. He had already had and invested in an on-chain project that was doing a similar mechanism that was a little bit behind us as far as when they were launching. And so, he throws out the FUD to us about not being fully on chain. And then, the day later, I think it was crazy. A day later, releases, hey, by the way, just so everyone knows, I've invested in this on-chain forging mechanism project launching pretty soon. And everyone's like, okay, we can smell the strategy here, which is fine. It is what it is. Honestly, at the end of the day, we lost some members probably who wanted to participate, and we probably gained some members just from that level of visibility. So you have to take, things with a grain of salt. But yeah, I mean, at the time, anytime you're doing something innovative, and you're first through the wall, you're going to get a little bloody. And our take on it was, hey, this is the best way for us to move forward that we for sure know we can execute. And if things were to go wrong, we're able in this situation to fix it. And putting something completely on chain, there's a lot of permanence there, and we didn't know if we wanted to take that risk. And honestly, from a technical standpoint, we were looking to our dev team, and they were like, yeah, the gas fees are going to be really high because it's a lot of on-chain transactions. So there was a lot of reasons why we chose to primarily be off-chain for the forging mechanism.
Do you think that, and this was July, right? So,
yeah.
We see cyber brokers who are fully on chain now. Like, I'm going to assume this is going to be the new norm, right? Especially with a lot of rug pulls and a lot of things popping up where you don't really sometimes know, is this a legitimate project? Is this real? But somebody making a significant investment saying this project is fully on chain, it is a big deal. Do you think, kind of hindsight, and once again, you guys did it in July, which I probably would have made the same decision you guys did because it was so early. But do you think now, if looking back at it, if you were guys to launch from scratch, you would have put the whole thing on chain?
What's crazy is the outcome has been the same. Like, as far as the output of the forge, how well it works, how smooth it works, there's not a thing I would change about it. It's incredibly smooth and really hasn't been faulty to date. So I think it worked out from that standpoint. From an ease of use on our back end, if it's on chain, then a lot of work is being done elsewhere, which would be nice. That's the only thing I would say, is it like lower the burden of the team a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I guess if I had a do-over, would I put everything on chain today? Like, if I was launching GOATz today, would I put it on chain? Yeah, I'd seriously look at the options there for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
That's not a small decision. Cyberbrokers, I think, paid about 100 ETH to do it all on chain. So that's it's a big amount of change that you're taking out of your treasury and project to do that.
But they're a follow-me project, Yossi, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people solely invested in them because, one, they have, Josie has OG status, but the fact that they made that financial investment said a lot about what their future plans hold.
What was they did mint at 0.35, was what I was going to say. So, that's a premium price mint. I think GOATz was at 0.05 or
yes,
back in the day. So there's a big price discrepancy there as well in that thing. But tell us where GOATz, why GOATz? Tell us about the genesis of building this community and how that came about.
Yeah, absolutely. Why GOATz today is, if you're looking for a project that does have kind of that OG status, that is not going to be rug pulling, that is kind of, cemented itself as a building project, a project that continues to build and deliver. That's one of our biggest reasons. I think if you connect with that whole personalization, creating your own IP, your own story behind your PFP, wanting something that connects to you, I think it's an amazing project to do that, and one of the first to ever do it. I always am impressed, surprised, whatever, after a Forge season where people create the newest, forged goats, the creativity that goes into these goats. Like, I'm just always blown away by our community on that. And then the last piece, or actually there's quite a few more pieces, but, the community, a very amazing and not overly positive, because I know that can be toxic in itself. And that's become a big topic of conversation in NFTs right now, is like when it becomes overly positive. But we have a great community that just really thinks about things. We take in the feedback of our community. That's something that I think we do really well as a project, is we listen to the feedback, because we got some really intelligent, just well-rounded people in our community. And it's a great Discord, very active. And then everything we're building in the metaverse right now is really exciting. I think we were one of the first to like really put a stamp and say, hey, we're going to be building in the metaverse. The day after we launched, we made a sizable investment into a 6x6 plot in the sandbox, which is quite sizable, fairly near Bored Apes locations, the same size as the Bored Apes plot. And yeah, we made that investment early on and have been building in there. And I truly think, 5 years from now, I don't know if we're going to be flipping JPEGs like we are right now, or at least it won't look the same. However, I do think one of the lasting pieces of technologies that makes it past this boom is the metaverse, is, certain aspects of digital community. And I'm just happy that, we as a project are investing in that for our holders.
So tell us about what are you building in the metaverse? We've got up on the screen here
Sure.
a little bit of what that could look like and what that does look like, but maybe you can talk us through what that is.
Sure. So behind me on my screen is the MaisonDeGOAT, which is the GOATz mansion. It's the digital clubhouse for our community with NFT gated access. That was kind of one of the earliest advantages or benefits of getting into the project. We're going to take that and build that in the metaverse. And so in our sandbox plot, it's called Goatsville. We plan on building our clubhouse. There's a lot going on with this project, but you also, by getting a forged goat, you have a house inside Goatsville's property, inside the city limits, if you will, of Goatsville. And so it's like a whole digital community. And then what we were showing on the video a little bit is a fun secret room within the mansion that is kind of a digital sports book, a sports lounge, viewing lounge within the sandbox. That's what it's meant to be. And so we have this very big sports fan community, and just with the name of being GOATz and greatest of all time, I think it connects really well with our community. A lot of sports fans. So we do quite a bit with sports, and that was kind of a cool way to tie that into the mansion. So that was like a secret passage underneath the mansion. But yeah, there'll be other different rooms. There's lounges, there's a pool deck, there's everything you would think a clubhouse mansion would have. So yeah, we're building that. We're building the houses for the forged goats. We do have a small downtown within Goatsville, and yeah, we're always looking to expand. We've diversified into some other metaverses as well. We just made a sizable investment into NFT Worlds, which is based off the Minecraft's build and server. And we're building this amazing game for goats. It's actually 3 games, but it's like plane racing, boat battle royale, and a mountain climbing game for goats to not only play but also earn as well.
Sounds like you got a lot of stuff going on.
We do got a lot of stuff going on, but a lot of it is heavily staked in the metaverse, because that's what we believe in. And I could go on for much longer, but we have a lot of stuff going on.
So as far as you guys came out in July. Current floor price is 0.13. Highest price has been 0.25. Is there a lot of pressure from the community that's far as saying, when are we getting to 1/8? When are we getting to 10/8? When are we getting to 50? Right? I mean,
sure.
Like, let's talk a little bit about, obviously you have the communities built by passionate holders who believe in the project and obviously believe in you as the visionary. But is there a lot of kind of day-to-day pressure where I always heard the story. It's like, you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company and you have shareholders, and those shareholders demand excellence and great returns. Give us a little insights into that.
Sure. Yeah, no. I will say it is apparent everywhere, right? Everyone wants their project and projects they invest in to moon and gain value. I mean, I want it too for my community. As far as feeling that pressure, I mean, I know it's there, and certain community members are going to be more vocal than others. But I will say, on the whole, I would put our community as maybe a little bit more understanding of what it takes to build long term, and that's come from our really mantra since the beginning is to build organically and sustainable, and that is not always the case. There's a lot of influencer pumps. There's a lot of external things that can drive a project's value in this space, but it's sometimes temporary. I don't mean to poke fun, but you could have like a Metaverse where, it pumps to 10 ETH floor, and then someone was saying it's like down at 0.3 now or something crazy like that. And
as they like to call it.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where like I would not be able to sleep at night if we artificially pumped to 5 ETH, knowing people bought at 5 ETH, believing in the project, and then it dropped back down to 1 ETH or even lower. So I would rather build something that is sustainably growing and goes that way. So, and I've communicated that to my community a number of times. And I've always been very honest with them. If you are here for the money and for the really big swings, like go invest in other projects too. Don't just be a GOAT holder, but invest in those things, get what you need out of the NFT space. But know what you have here is pretty special, and it's something that's long-term. It's been built since early times. It's sustained, and it's still growing. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I'm always going to want to push the project value to grow. And I think we've made the investments to eventually have that pay off. But I'm happy with our trajectory, even though it may be slower in some standards for NFT projects.
And I love your honesty there, where you're like, hey, if you're looking for, crazy
the next pump and dump.
Yeah. Go somewhere else. I appreciate that.
You speak about the we in the team, like we're doing this, we're doing that. What does it look like to build an NFT community, and what does that team configuration look like?
Man, I could not do it with the support of our staff and our team. We have a great team of mods that have come in early from this project. We haven't really externally hired mods from different servers or from professional resources. We've kept it all within the community and longstanding community members, people who have gone out and created content, built stuff before we even asked them to, and then rewarded them by giving them positions. I think that's such a cool thing, is seeing these community members really take action on their own. And then so happy now that we can get them involved in the team. And then, we have a newly formed kind of marketing function with two great members, one who is kind of our resident meme lord, and then another person who actually just popped up on the screen there, shilling our own stuff, but is NYC Punter. Hey, he's a marketing person. He's allowed to do that. So we've gained a really good team on that front from the community side. We still have the same original dev team. Our artists are still the same from the beginning, and so it's remained a pretty solid group since the start.
Before we let you go, what are your top 5 projects out there?
Ooh, top 5 projects. Okay, well, there's being a podcast host myself, I've seen a lot of come and go, but I think the ones that are building some really cool stuff, I have to, just because I'm talking to them today, but On-Chain Monkeys, and one of the best people I met at NFT NYC last year was this guy named Steve, goes by Steve Bark. But he's become the marketing kind of manager at On-Chain Monkeys. And the stuff, I love projects that are actually giving back into the space, and it's been a struggle for some. I know some amazing projects that have really had a charitable focus, but haven't garnered the attention of some other projects that maybe don't have it. But OCM is doing some really great things. So I love what they're doing there. I think one of my biggest recent regrets probably, honestly, will be Azuki. I remember being on a podcast and saying, these look phenomenal. Not getting heavy into that, but what they're building is cool. I love their like tongue-in-cheek airdrop, and then April Fools, it turned into a pile of dirt. Stuff like that where they're building in lore, building in community and culture, I think is great. Let's see some other great projects. It's funny, a lot of people, it's kind of a touchy subject right now, but I've always liked Gutter Cat Gang. And what they've done. I was initially a very upset customer because I tried to mint on their mint day and it was horrible and it didn't go well and it almost burned me out of the project. But it's one of those things that over time you understand, like, yeah, things don't go always how they plan, but they've done so great to build it back up. So there, and then one community we keep just partnering with, and just, again, I think is very complementary to ours and very similar, is Alien Boy, which is another OG project that doesn't get much love in the space as far as like massive 10 ETH floors. But again, it's one of these communities that is great. It's been around a while and is still building a ton of stuff. I mean, they have a long list of things that they're about to deliver. So yeah, shout out to the Alien Boys. Yeah.
And what can we, people who are not part of GOATz, of the community yet, or for the holders, what can they expect to come?
Sure. A lot of developments in the metaverse and pretty quick releases. We're at the mercy of releasing everything we got going at Goatsville, just like many other projects at this point, based on Sandbox and when they eventually will release their beta. But we've diversified and invested in some other metaverses so that we can have some shorter term releases. So you have a ton of stuff going on in the metaverse as far as development. We're releasing our staking module next week, which allows you to stake our companions, which is called Kids. That's releasing next week, and a lot of people are very excited about the release of staking and earning GMilk, which is our in-game native token. And yeah, just
I hope GMilk is not going to take as long as cat milk.
No, I mean that's what's crazy is I feel like so many people have announced tokens for a very, very long time, and I'm happy that we're going to be able to deliver it on faster maybe than some other communities that have announced it before us. But a lot of work has gone into it. I will be the first to admit it is not the most. It's not the easiest thing to release by any means. There's a ton of legwork that comes from a technical side, from a legal side. It's an uphill climb for sure, but very happy that we're narrowing down and getting close to releasing it.
Awesome. Dez, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you coming on to the show.
Of course.
Goats talking to goats.
Goats and goats.
I love it. Well, we got some goats in our Goat Bowl.
Goat Bowl.
Don't know what the Goat Bowl is. Goat Bowl is our way of giving back to the community. We have some goats in the Goat Bowl. I believe our Goat Bowl is somewhere around 90 grand. Once we hit 5, there we go. Boom. Once we hit 5,000 subscribers, we open up the Goat Bowl and start handing out those NFTs. So if you're watching the show, make sure you smash that subscribe button. And we'll make sure to continue to check in with you, Dez, to see how you're doing. Once again, we appreciate your time. Love the conversation and hope to have you back on soon, my friend.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks guys for having me on. Goats got to support goats. So happy to be here, and thanks for putting me on.
Cool.
Love all the stuff that you're doing. How do people get a hold of you? I'm a big mint condition fan as well. Where can people reach out to you and the GOATz community?
Yeah, we have another great podcast called The Mint Condition. It's at the Mint Cond, so C-O-N-D, on Twitter. I'm at a crazy acronym, but KRHFT, craft, if you want to pronounce it. That's my personal Twitter, but then you can always find us GOATz at MaisonDeGOAT for Twitter.
Cool. We'll make sure to throw those links in the description as well. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you guys back soon. Thank you, guys.
Have a good one.